The Nike Vomero 17 versus the Nike Pegasus 40. Which is the right daily trainer for you? Or are these even both daily trainers? You're probably watching this video because you're trying to understand what is the difference between these two shoes. To get there, let me define a couple things. First, the Vomero line from Nike is an old line from Nike, and it's always been on the edge of their performance running line. It's never really been one of the main shoes. It's always been a very specific use case. And that very specific use case is a high volume trainer, a very soft or pillowy soft volume trainer for long, easy miles. Whereas the Nike Pegasus has been sort of Nike's standard daily trainer, do everything Swiss Army knife shoe. They're not necessarily meant to be the same thing, and Nike's never intended that to happen. But where does that idea come from that the Vomero is somehow a premium Pegasus? I hear that all the time. Well, this goes back to 2018 when the Vomero 14 came out. Now, when this shoe came out, it was during the era of the Peg 35. We also had the original Nike Turbo as well. And at the time, the Vomero 14 was a very big departure from the previous Vomeros. The previous Vomeros were just mostly very cushy, very well cushioned, max cushion, if you will, shoes for long, easy running. The Vomero 14 made the Vomero much more aggressive. It introduced React for the first time outside of the Epic React series, and it had the Zoom Air units. So at the time, given that the Peg 35 was a bit of an older shoe at the end of its tech track, the Vomero 14 felt like the future of the Peg. And I think the Vomero 14 is a lot of people's first Vomero because, again, it wasn't the most popular shoe. It wasn't a shoe that really a lot of people ever ran in, but the Vomero 14 was quite popular. But the Vomero 14 was also very different from the rest of the Vomero line. So given that that's a lot of people's first experience with the Vomero, that's, I think, where this idea comes from, that the Vomero is somehow a plush or a premium Pegasus. The Vomero 15-16 also didn't help that, though the 15-16 was a little bit more of a lifestyle shoe than any really serious running shoe. It was kind of a mess, to be honest. And then the Peg evolved the way it's evolved. So the two shoes have gone, very different directions, but Nike has never intended the Vomero to be a replacement for the Pegasus, or even a daily trainer for that matter. So what is a daily trainer? How do I define a daily trainer? Well, it's a simple thing, really. A daily trainer should be a shoe that I can do any type of run on any surface in any condition. Easy running, track running, workouts, speed sessions, long runs, a race if I had to. I should be able to do that in my daily trainer, as well as run on track, on road, on packed trail, even some more technical trail, and in wet and dry and really everything in between. The daily trainer should be the one shoe I can do everything in. In fact, I often call it my weekender shoe because if I'm going to go away for a while, a few days, up to a week, and I know I'm going to run, but I don't necessarily know what I'm going to run on, I'm going to reach for my daily trainer because I know I'm going to be fine with one shoe to really run anywhere and anything that I need to do. And the de facto daily trainer forever has been the Pegasus. This is the one shoe I can count on to really do everything. It may not be the most exciting shoe, but you know what? It's a very durable shoe. It's a decent weight. It's got this beautiful full rubber outsole. I can go anywhere in this shoe, and this is the standard of the daily trainer for me. Additionally, a daily trainer should be neutral. It should be fairly flexible. I should have decent ground feel, and it should allow my foot to flex fairly well. I also don't want a shoe with a lot of rocker or a lot of foam in it as a daily trainer because I want to be doing the work. I don't want my daily trainer rolling me through a bunch of stuff. There's a time and place for a high cushioned, rockered shoe, but to me, that's not a daily trainer. Let's start with the specs of these two shoes, and we'll get started with the Vomero 17. Now, according to Nike, this has a 39.5 mil stack foam in the heel, has 30 mil of foam in the forefoot. According to Nike, it is a 10 mil drop, though math doesn't really work out there, but it's around a 10 mil drop. Shoe weighs in at 10.1 ounces or 286 grams, and that's your standard US size 9 men's, reference size that everyone uses. Now, this shoe is a split ZoomX and Cushionlon 3 midsole, meaning The foam that's directly underfoot is Zoom X. Zoom X is Nike's premium race foam. And what's below that, what some will call a carrier foam, is Cushionline 3.0, which is a new formulation of a very old and very classic Nike foam. The shoe also has a mild midfoot rocker and a very structured heel. So there is a lot of heel structure in this that I think heel strikers will benefit from. And there is a subtle amount of forefoot rocker which will roll you forward. Additionally, the firmer Cushionline 3.0 under that very soft Zoom X foam makes that Cushionline foam feel like a bit of a plate. This is not a plated shoe, but you do get some of that rocker feeling, it's sort of toe-off feeling of a firmer material underfoot, and that's the Cushionline 3.0. So if we go to the Nike Pegasus 40, what we're looking at there is 33 mil of foam in the heel, 23 mil of foam in the forefoot with a 10 mil drop, so considerably less foam. Now the Peg weighs in at 9.4 ounces or 266 grams. Again, standard US men's size 9 reference size. So overall, the Peg is less foam, little bit lighter weight, though honestly on foot, you don't really notice the difference. There isn't a huge weight difference between these two shoes. It looks more extreme on the screen than it does feel on foot. Now the Peg is a full React midsole, so React is a somewhat older foam now. I think it's Nike's best training foam, though they seem to be removing it from all their performance shoes. The Peg 40 is the last performance shoe that has React in it. And you have Zoom air units in the forefoot and heel, two distinct air units, which the Vomero also used to have, but the Vomero 17 no longer has those air units. And I would call the Peg 40 a very traditional geometry and ride, meaning there's little to no rocker in this shoe, and it's not going to roll you forward. It's putting a lot of emphasis on you, your foot strike, and your gait to put in the work, and the shoe's not doing a lot for you. It's more just protecting your foot. So how do these shoes fit? How do they feel in your foot? Well, this shoe, the Vomero 17, is a little bit more shoe than the Pegasus. The upper material, there's more upper material here. There's a slightly more padding in the heel collar and the heel counter. There's definitely more foam in this shoe. And because of the Zoom X, which is this kind of cream colored foam that you see here, it definitely feels more plush when you slide your foot in. The upper, again, there's more upper here. It's a softer upper. And that Zoom X, when you slide your foot into this shoe, definitely feels pillowy soft. And pillowy soft is something that Nike has described the Vomero with for a long time. They've always called this shoe pillowy soft. And that's no different here. And that's why I think the Zoom X really is in this shoe, because it is so soft when you put your foot in, and it's so welcoming to just put on this soft, cushy shoe, pillowy soft shoe to go out and do high volume, easy running. Let's move to the Pegasus now. So this shoe on foot feels slightly lighter, though again, it's not significant, but it feels like a smaller shoe. And a lot of that comes down to the upper. Now, I think the upper on the Peg 40 is probably one of Nike's best uppers, definitely this year, but in some time. I'm going to say, compared to the Vomero 17's upper, this upper conforms to your foot much more. Whereas when you slide your foot into the Vomero 17, it sort of encompasses your foot, where when you slide your foot into this shoe, it sort of wraps around your foot. Subtle difference, but I think this one just fits better. I also think the lockdown in this shoe is much better than the Vomero. Now, there's still ample heel collar padding, and the heel counter is very well padded. They're very similar between this and the Vomero 17, but I think the Vomero 17 has a little bit more foam. And the midsole in this shoe is firmer, so you definitely feel that when you slide your foot into this. This shoe does not feel plush. It does not feel pillowy. It's not an overly firm shoe, but I think by modern standards, by standards of 2023, this is probably a firmer shoe. I like that feel. I want that feel when I put my foot in, especially for a daily trainer, but it's going to come down to personal preference. Do you like overly pillowy soft shoes? If you do, you're going to like the Vomero 17 better. Do you like a firmer feel? You're going to like the Peg 40 better. So what is it like to run in both these shoes? What's the difference? Now, for this section in these versus videos that I do, I usually do some data. I'll talk about, different workouts I do, but for both these shoes, they're easy run shoes, or I'm comparing them on the basis of being an easy run shoes. So it doesn't really make sense to talk about data. It's more going to be about how they feel when you actually run in them. So starting at the Vomero, like I said, this shoe is still nimble. It's definitely not as nimble as the Pegasus, but it's not as bulky as an Invincible. And there is a slight bit of rocker in this shoe that's accentuated by the rigidness of this white foam, of the Cushionland 3.0 foam, which is a much more firm and rigid foam than anything in the Pegasus. So the feel when you run in this shoe is that the ZoomX will absorb when you're striking. It's very soft, but that's about it. That's where ZoomX stops. What takes over is the firmer Cushionland, which works with the slight toe rocker in this shoe to really roll you forward. Very different ride than the Pegasus, and some people may prefer this. I personally don't like a shoe that really rolls me forward, especially for a daily trainer, but when I want an easy running shoe, this actually kind of works because it's a nice mix between the more traditional Pegasus feeling and the over-the-top Invincible feeling, which is just really bouncy, really rolly. This is directly in between those two, and I think it works really well. Now for the Peg, this is about as traditional a variety as you can get in 2023. Again, this shoe puts a lot of emphasis on you and your foot strike to propel you forward. Now, React foam is a bit firmer foam, but I think that actually works to this shoe's benefit because there are Zoom Air units in it. There's one here and there's one in the heel. So as a forefoot striker, when I'm landing in this area, I definitely do feel a little pop from that Air Zoom unit that's in the forefoot, especially on toe off. So this shoe is just a little bit more agile. It's a little bit more aggressive when you toe off, which I really like that feeling. It's also extremely flexible. There's a lot of flex to this shoe, which again, I love in a daily trainer because again, I want my foot working hard for those daily training miles. I don't want the shoe sort of covering over a lot of those problems. I want to feel them directly when I'm doing that work in a daily trainer. So how do I use these shoes? Well, as I've said a bunch of times now in this video, the Pegasus is my de facto daily trainer. This is a shoe I'm going to pull out to do anything, anywhere, at any time. I love this shoe for its versatility. I love this shoe for its comfort. I've done a lot of long runs in this. I've done a lot of workouts in this, and I've done a lot of easy runnings in this. Though, I will say, for an easy run shoe, this shoe sometimes isn't the best because it does encourage you to go faster than maybe you want to. And for easy running, I think a shoe that encourages you to go slow, to stay easy, is really valuable. And I think this is where the Vomero 17 really comes in and really shines. This is a shoe that encourages you to run easy, to run slow. You can go faster in this shoe. I've run up to about 10K pace in this shoe, and it'll do it, but it will constantly remind you of, are you sure you want to do this? This is not a shoe that really wants to go fast. It will, but it takes some effort. This shoe's happiest when you're just sort of rolling around the miles, doing those long, easy miles, that conversational pace running. This is the shoe for that. And I think it's actually really great to have a shoe dedicated to easy running. Because again, the Pegasus, it's too easy to go fast in that shoe. And the Invincible, it's way too easy to go fast in that shoe because it's so bouncy and so rolly. So this shoe is sitting somewhere in between those two that, again, encourages slow, easy running with, depending on if you're a heel striker or a forefoot striker, you're rolling through the heel into this, forefoot off this rocker, and the Cushionland foam is really sort of snapping you forward. It's a great shoe for that. And I think that's what Nike has intended this shoe to be. And that's why I don't think this is a good daily trainer. Now, that's my preference. You may like it as a daily trainer. That may be exactly what you're looking for. And if that's the case, I do think this shoe will work really well. I think the Peg is still a better daily trainer because it's a little lighter, it's a little bit more nimble, it's a little bit more fun, honestly, to run in because there's much more versatility there. But if you like the idea of a shoe that's just a little bit more shoe than a Pegasus, I think this is probably the way to go, and I think you'd be quite happy with this as a daily trainer. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you like this type of content, consider subscribing. You'll see more content like this pop up in your feed. If not, drop a like on this video because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.